welcome to my channel. I'm Taylor and today we are going to be making some fall decor using Dollar Tree products. So let's get started. So for this first project, I have this bowl that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. It has a design on it, but I'm going to cover that design up with some of this plaster that I also got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to use a popsicle stick and mix it around. It's a little moist and you just want to mix it around so that it's distributed evenly, and then we are going to once it's all mixed up, place it onto our bowl. Now I want this to look like a pumpkin. I was inspired by a bowl that I saw at Pottery Barn, but we're going to make it look a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to take this plaster and place it on with my popsicle stick and with my fingers and just mold it until we get all of those bumps that are on the side of the pumpkin, and just mold it the best you can on the bowl. And you're just going to repeat this around the entire bowl until all of the design is covered up and it looks the way that you want it. The spackling dry for 24 hours, and now it's time to paint this and make it look like a pumpkin. So I grabbed some orange acrylic paint from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of black, and then I'm going to make another color too, which is orange, and I mixed it with a lighter gray. So I have a darker orange color and a little bit of a lighter orange color. And once that's all mixed, I'm going to take those colors and just go the whole way around the pumpkin, interchanging those colors just to make it look a little bit more realistic and not as super bright orange. So just go around your entire pumpkin bowl with that paint, and then we'll let that dry. So the paint dried for 24 hours and it's ready. I thought it needed a little something else though, so I'm going to take this gold paint, which you can find on Amazon, and I'm going to paint a pumpkin on the bottom inside of the bowl just to make it look a little bit more luxurious and more pumpkin-y. Project, we are going to be making a fall wreath using this wreath that I got at the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to make a smaller wreath. So what I'm going to do is use some strong wire cutters and cut off the inner circle of the wreath. And then I'm only going to use that small inner circle, and then you can save the other circles to make a second wreath. So you can make a bunch of wreaths just using this one, as long as you have some really strong wire cutters, because they are really tough to cut. So make sure you got some strong wire cutters before you do this, or you might break yours. And then this part got cut out, but what I used is some fall Dollar Tree flowers that I picked up. They come in a bundle, and I picked up about 5 bundles, and I cut off each individual stem, and then I'm just arranging the flowers how I would like them, and using some floral tape, which I got this on Amazon, but they also have it at the Dollar Tree. So floral tape is kind of tacky, and you just want to wrap it around the stem and hold it really tight against the wire, and just keep wrapping and pulling until your flower and stem are snug on there. And then I just repeated this process throughout the entire wreath until it was covered all in flowers. To add some of these leaves that I also picked up at the Dollar Tree. There's a lot of them in there, and they're all different designs, and I'm just going to take them and stick them in between my flowers wherever I want to fill in some spots and just make it look more fall-y. So I'm using my hot glue gun and glue sticks. I'm putting a little dab on the bottom middle, and then I'm just holding it against and pressing it against the flowers there so that it sticks onto those flowers. It won't fall off. So then I repeated this a bunch of times throughout the entire wreath. Picked up these sparkly orange pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to open up the package and do the same thing. Take some hot glue, put it on the bottom, and then stick it onto the leaves and press down so that they stick. And it just really brings the whole wreath together. So I really like these sparkly pumpkins. Step is optional. What I'm going to do is make a big bow to put at the bottom of the wreath. So I picked up this fabric from the Dollar Tree once again, and what I'm going to do is leave a few inches on the end and pinch it in between my thumb and fingers, and then I'm going to fold it up to make a bow. So I'm going to fold up those 2 pieces of fabric, those 2 ends, pinch it in between my thumb and my fingers, and then fold over the fabric on the bottom as well, and then pinch those 2. So the key here is just to make sure that you don't let go of those pieces of fabric, and you just want to fluff out the ribbon and keep folding the fabric until you get about 4 bows on each side. So I'm going to fold it over and then pinch it in between my fingers. This fabric, this ribbon, isn't reversible, so you just gotta twist it into the right direction sometimes. And then once I get to the end, I have some extra fabric and I'm just going to snip that off so that it matches the little piece that I had in the beginning, and then wrap some wire around it and stick it on the wreath. For the last project, we are going to make some painted canvases. And what you would need for this is some painter's tape and a hard surface to cut on that you don't mind marking up. So basically we're going to be making some stickers of our own in different calligraphy letters. So I'm going to write the word fall on this. And if you're not familiar with calligraphy, basically it's writing in cursive, but every stroke that you go down on, you want to make thicker. So I just made my F, and on the part I went down, I am going to cheat a little bit and draw a line up and down and then fill in that hollow space. And then it just makes it look like some nice calligraphy script. If you have some calligraphy stickers, or if you have a Cricut machine, you can certainly just use those instead of going through all these steps. But I don't have a Cricut machine, so I'm just drawing the word fall onto my painter's tape, and then later I'm going to use an X-Acto knife to cut those letters out and make my own stickers. So with the X-Acto knife, you want to be careful. You're going to trace the outside of the letters that you drew. In the middle of my tape, it's stacked up, so you just want to pass through the middle a few times so that the X-Acto knife can get through both layers. But on the outer parts, it's pretty easy to cut. It's just kind of tedious with the thinner parts of your letters. But just trace those out, and then we'll be able to pick those up and stick them on our canvases. So the first canvas is going to be that fall calligraphy, but for the second I got an idea to take some leftover ribbon that I had from my fall wreath, and I am going to cut it and tape it onto the second canvas that I have. And I picked those canvases up at the Dollar Tree as well. I believe they came in a pack of 2 for $1. So I'm going to take this ribbon, and the leaves on them are solid, so I anticipated that if I paint over this, that the paint will stay around the leaf, but then where the leaves are, it's going to act as like our painter's tape and leave behind that leaf design without any paint on it. So I'm going to take this ribbon and I'm going to flip it over and use some tape and fold down the edges and just tape it onto the back. You want to make sure that it's pretty snug. That way whenever you're going to paint over top of the ribbon, that nothing soaks through underneath those leaves. So we want to make sure that no paint gets under that leaf design. So now it's time to paint. So I'm going to use that same dollar store paint, acrylic paint that I got. I have it in white and orange, and I have some black craft paint as well. So I don't really need to mix any colors here. I'm just going to use the solid colors and a sponge that I have. So first I'm going to go in with the black and just dab the very bottom of this canvas. So we're going to create a sort of ombre effect. So I went in with the black first, and then I'm going to go in with the orange color. And just going back and forth, you want the colors to kind of bleed through a bit, but you don't want the black to go the whole way up. So I'm tapping into my orange now and going most of the way up. And then we're going to get some white and put that over top as well. And once again, you just want to go up and down to get those colors blended to create that ombre effect. And then we're gonna let that dry for an hour or so. For the ribbon canvas, this one is pretty straightforward, so we're just going to use that same sponge and go in with the orange acrylic paint, and we are just going to dab it around the whole entire canvas. So once again, just make sure that that ribbon is nice and snug, because in this step we don't want the paint to soak through underneath those printed leaves. So we're going to dab over top of the ribbon, and that paint is going to soak through the clear parts, but then stay on top of those leaves so that it leaves behind a design underneath. So we're going to dab this whole canvas and then let that dry for an hour. Fall canvas, I wanted to add a little something to it. So what we're going to do is freehand draw a black tree on the left side of the canvas. Now you don't have to be an artist to do that. I certainly am not one. So what I'm doing is I'm just starting my trunk at the bottom, and then I'm just going to draw some lines, thicker in the beginnings and thin them out for some small branches at the end. But just, do what you feel like, and if you mess up, that's okay. So just go ahead with your paintbrush and make some branches. And then, as you can see, I kind of messed up at one point. I got this big blob on one of my branches, so I tried to do something to cover it up. So at first I wanted to turn it into an owl, but I turned it into a cat eventually. So just some round orbs with a tail, etc. So you're just going to make your tree and let that dry. It doesn't take that long to dry. And then it'll be time to peel off our fall lettering underneath, and we'll see how that turned out. So now I'm going to peel off the fall lettering, and it's working great. As you can see the white canvas underneath all of that paint, so I really like how this canvas turned out. And I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife to release it from some of the paint that it's stuck to, and then peel the rest of those off, and our fall canvas is done. And for the ribbon canvas, we're just going to take that tape off of the back and flip it around, and then we're going to carefully peel this ribbon off of the canvas. So it is kind of tight, so just be careful. You don't want to rip it all off in one swoop. Just carefully release each leaf until the whole canvas is rid of that ribbon. And as you can see, the paint didn't bleed through that leaf design. It left behind this beautiful leaf pattern in white surrounded by our orange color. So I think it turned out great. If you wanted to add a little bit something to this, you could turn the leaves gold instead. You could add a splatter effect, and you can do any color. You could do an ombre effect with the orange paint instead of just one solid color. So there's a bunch of different things you could do with this, but I like how simple this project was. For the final looks, I really liked how all of these projects turned out. The pumpkin bowl is probably my favorite, and I love the little gold pumpkin in the bottom. So I hope you guys try and recreate these projects at home, and come back next time for some more DIYs, bullet journaling, and baking.